Ukrainian culture is very diverse and at the same time unique. A lot of nations and countries influenced it and fulfilled it with something new, except one nation that only wanted to destroy and appropriate our culture without giving anything instead. And it's got miracle how Ukrainians' national memories and traditions survived Soviet occupation. Well, guys, let me remind you what we remember about Russian troops. They are rapers, murderers, and war criminals. And of course, they are looters. They are looting washing machine, toilets, and even women's lingerie. But this approach comes not from the single person. It comes from mentality. Russian mentality. Russia always was the best in stealing and queen of cultural appropriation. And despite of all my jokes about burning Moscow cups, Russian expansion is serious threat for Ukrainian identity even now. They expanded and were stealing culture of conquered nations for centuries. For example, have you know that name of Russian Empire is also stolen? And it was stolen, not surprisingly, from Ukrainians, from us. In October 1721, Moscow Tsar Peter I decided to rename Moscow Kingdom into Russian Empire. And to rename it, they stole original title of Kyivan Rus that according to geographical and historical heritage relates directly to Ukrainian roots. And such renaming was serious threat to Ukrainian identity. In this video, for example, you see how we celebrating our 32nd anniversary of independence, but our ancestors put their lives and blood that we could exist now after full-scale invasion. I understand it very clear, because it's our time to fight. Few decades later, famous Russian Emperor Catherine II decided to learn and dig deeply into the history of Russian Empire according to the sources, books and chronicles she received, and she was shocked because a real historical heritage of Moscow Kingdom was lame and poor, and she was deeply surprised that Kyivan Rus that were glorified within 3 centuries has nothing to do with Moscow Kingdom. So, as offended woman, she decided to create her own truth and started the commission in 1873. The goal of the commission was to search and dig deeply into the ancient roots of Moscow Kingdom. This commission has been working for 9 years and rewrite a lot of ancient manuscript to glorify Moscow Kingdom and create this ideology of brotherhood nation, Belarus, Russian and Ukrainians. I had the chance to meet Patrick, the member of volunteer in Ukraine team, and ask him if he also heard about Russian narrative of 3 brotherhood nation in his country.
Ukraine definitely has its own sovereign rights. I mean, even when it was Kyivan Rus times, there was already a nation of tribes. So over hundreds of years in history, Ukraine has always had its own people.
And all this time, guys, Russia pushed this narrative and trying to convince all the world that Ukrainians as a nation has never ever existed. It was just Malo Rossi or Little Russians, brotherhood nation to Great Russian Empire. And this wasn't true. The people of Ukraine came from Kyivan Rus, Eastern European powerful feudal monarchical state with the capital in Kiev, and had unique culture before Moscow Kingdom even appeared. Guys, for centuries, Russian Empire and after Soviet Union were trying their best to erase even memories of Ukrainians and other enslaved people for themselves as the nation, erase their cultural identity and scientific achievements through the censorship and propaganda. Physical destruction also took place. They tortured, killed, deported a lot of teachers, artists, writers, historians who were keeping the memory about themselves as a nation. I recently visited prison in Stry where NKVD secret police hold political inmates. All they were mostly innocent people who disagreed with Bolshevik party and wanted Ukraine to be independent. After heavy German bombings in 1941, local NKVD leaders began to exterminate in prison of their own, as they didn't want to evacuate them and thought people with another political views can be used by Germans against Soviets in occupation. I remember my uni years. I were living in the dorm and we had a girl next block that was speaking only Ukrainian. And we were all Russian speaker, of course. And my fellows were asking her, "Where are you from? Are you came from the village?" So, Soviet Union heritage put in our head that Ukrainian-speaking person could came only from village and has no education and has lack of knowledge. This is the consequences of Russification and destroying of Ukrainian culture. And even after collapse of Soviet Union, thanks God, Russia still deeply penetrated into Ukrainian media, into informational environment. I have been listening to Russian music for years. In school, in university, and after, I have been watching Russian movies. I have been reading Russian books. Now, when my eyes are open, unfortunately after full-scale invasion, but not from the start of war on Donbass, to my shame, I'm spending a lot of time to know from the start, to learn from the basic who I am and where I came from. And that is why I'm visiting charity and cultural fairs in the park so often. That is why you see a lot of footage on this channel, how I'm sitting on the grass, chilling and listening to Ukrainian folk music. Not because I'm lazy, but because I want extra education for myself and also want to show you that Ukrainians are not Russians. We are not little Russians. We are not Malorosi.
Тихо зовуться, як заплаче моє серце, я ж гори здригнусь. І пішла сітка, подалеко зайдеш на горі.
And I'm delighted if I have a chance to learn something new, not only about culture of my ancestors, but also about culture, modern culture of Ukraine. That is why I'm no longer watching Russian movies, only Ukrainian ones. Recently I've seen Dovbush, Ukrainian historical film directed by Oles Sanin, where plot is based on the life of Alexa Dovbush, the most famous of the Opryshki leaders in Carpathians. And the production was similar to Hollywood in quality, and what is most important, it gave me understanding of Ukrainian fighting for independence during Poland-Ukrainian historical period, and I'm proud that to our country have learned the lessons from the past. I was deeply shocked when found out Russians wanted to steal our borscht also, the traditional Ukrainian beetroot soup, not because of jealousy, not because they like this soup, but because of historical memory. Matter is that in 16th century, German businessman Martin Greneweg went to Lviv and Kyiv for a business trip. He had a travel diary where he wrote everything he had seen during that trip and also recorded that he was lucky to try tasteful beetroot soup from locals. He titled the locals as Rusini, after Kyivan Rus. And 1 minute, citizens of Moscow kingdom he called Moscovite. So Rusini and Moscovite was two different nations. Also, I asked Patrick, who played Martin Greneweg in my video for better engagement of course, if he knows that borscht is not a Russian soup.
It is of course naturally Ukrainian traditional dish and not Russian. It is historically proven, and to steal another nation's national dish, I think it's not nice and unforgivable.
Guys, thank you for watching my silly videos. I know that I'm not an expert and my speech is not 100% accurate, but I'm just Ukrainian woman that trying to transfer her own experience during the war. And if you want to help me to transfer it further, please smash this like button and share my videos across the internet, and whole world will see how rotten Moscow state is. Thank you. And your sharing and liking also can help people to acknowledge who Ukrainians really are, or they just can enjoy watching us feeding funny horses. It was all for today, guys. Thank you for watching this video till the very end. You are my heroes. Hope my accent was not too horrible. And thank you to everyone who supported me as a content creator on Buy Me a Coffee page from the last video. I will use all these funds to mastermind my content creation skills and make me a better creator for YouTube community, for you, and for my country.
Запорізькой москаль обляй, кругом січі Запорізькой москаль обляй.